What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, the Nature Boy Joe, and Cuz is out this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
Talk about the loose cannon, Dave.
Ooh, he
Brian
is a loose cannon.
Pillman, former Cincinnati
Brian.
Bengal, Flying Brian.
Trendsetters.
Trendsetters, Mr. Pillman. This is going to be good. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you do us a solid and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook, Meta at Our Wrestling Podcast. Jess, what are we doing?
I wrote this with the passion and the emotion of a legacy. However, I don't want to betray my legacy guidelines.
Well, at least Cuz is not here to argue about it for 6 hours.
Well, Cuz was right to a certain extent. I have to admit it. I hate his stupid fucking face, but however...
By the way, I started that shit too. I start the legacy battles too about legacy versus.
But I agree though that we should have a guideline. So my legacy guidelines are typically they need to at least win a version of the World Heavyweight Championship. However, Brian Pillman did not. But when I wrote this, I'm just telling you guys, when I wrote the notes, tibbity typing, I had legacy in my mind. But this is going to be Trendsetters, Brian Pillman, which he is a trendsetter. Yeah. We talked about it in our episode of the WCW Cruiserweight division, Legacy of. However, I'm going to label this Trendsetters, but my heart is with the Legacy.
Don't worry.
Because
not good enough. Didn't know that before I started. Bye.
All right. See wow.
I'm out. Just walked off the set. If you're not calling him a legacy, I can't have it.
And I just look at Brian Pillman and Steve Austin smiling.
I'm playing.
Did anybody notice that Dad Craig's wearing a Brody shirt as well? I love it.
Yeah,
he is. He is.
Good stuff. All right, let's just jump right in. We got the early life of Mr. Pillman. Brian Pillman was born on May 22nd, 1962, to a Welsh mother named Mary. He had three sisters named Angie, Linda, and Susan, as well as a brother, Phil. His father died of a heart attack when Pillman was just 3 months old in August of 1962. As a child, Pillman developed multiple throat polyps and underwent between 31 and 36 operations to tend to them, many before the age of 3. Due to his medical issues, Pillman spent a larger part of his early childhood in a hospital.
It's why, and again, obviously this is obvious, but it's why he had the hoarse voice, I'm Brian Pillman. Like we always noticed that when we were younger, and it's because he went through all this trauma when he was young. That's insane.
Yeah. While attending Miami University at Oxford, Ohio, Pillman played football for the Redskins, now the Miami Redhawks, okay, as a defensive tackle. Wherever he set
you ever watch football and there's Miami and there's Miami of Ohio? Yes. Like when you watch the college football scores, this is Miami of Ohio.
Miami of Ohio. He set the record for the tackles for loss category. So, Pillman was a player. And Division 1.
He really was.
Yep. Second team All-American in his junior year and a Division 1 All-American in his senior year as a free agent. And later, the Canadian Football League for the Calgary Stampeders in 1986. Pillman also played for the Buffalo Bills in preseason action of 85.
What? Say what?
But he was, I don't know. There's a Bills fan in the room. But he was last player cut before the start of the season. Pillman and John Harbaugh, the current head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, were roommates and defensive teammates while at Miami.
I love those stories of like roommates. Yeah. Like it's like Terry Bradshaw and
I love how wrestling connects with football. It's wrestling's inside of you, fuckers. Fuck you.
So John
wrestling's
Harbaugh
everywhere, you bitches.
And fucking Brian Pillman,
motherfuckers.
Roommate.
Just hanging out.
Wrestling's stupid and fake and phony. Fuck you. It's in your football shit. It's in everything.
Jess, you're getting really upset.
Fuck you, Dave. It's in
and I'm just going to put it back on record. A couple episodes back, you can check it out in the archives. Jess did call me a hooker. For those
fuck you, hooker.
I think if I can, I'll decode what Jess is trying to say. But it's very much, there's a difference between people who have played team sports and people who haven't played team sports. And I think that
people are stupid for not liking pro wrestling. You're stupid. You're all stupid. Sorry.
It's in business and in life. Anyone that has worked in a team sport and in that dynamic realizes the importance of it.
Politics. How is politics nowadays not connected to pro wrestling? It's all connected to pro wrestling.
And
good guys,
football,
bad guys.
You hear it all the time.
show?
Football and wrestlers
Yeah.
shared room together in college or football, and there is something to like wrestling is an individual sport, but yet it's also a team sport. And the fact that some of the best wrestlers happen to be football players and come from that world, which I don't think is a mistake or we should remiss in that. But like for John Harbaugh, the coach of the fucking Ravens, to still and be the guy that coached with Pillman, like I would hope Pillman is still here, and he's not. But like it's kind of cool. Like you hear those stories.
Yeah. No, I dig it, bro. I dig it. I mean, The Rock was a pretty good football player. Just saying.
Who?
He was all right.
No, I never heard him.
I never heard that guy.
You talking about Prince Ikea?
I heard of Warren Sapp, though, who started above The Rock in Miami. So, just saying. Following the end of his football career, Pillman remained in Canada and began training as a wrestler under Stu Hart and his sons. That's how you get started right there. He debuted in November of 1986 in Hart's Calgary-based Stampede
86
Wrestling.
It's
promotion.
why he was. We're going to get to it. It's why he was part of the Hart Foundation in '97. He was a part of the Hart family in a sense. Like he trained in the dungeon. So many people. I didn't know that before he
He
started.
was getting stretched, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he started,
awesome.
when he started in whatever in 89, 90, I had no idea that he had that connection.
Oh, Chief Khan is almost out on his feet. Look at this move, Pillman. Oh, he catches him. That's it. 1, 2, 3. It's all over. Your winner's Bad Company. A sensational move off the top ropes by Flying Brian Pillman.
But I guess if you came out of, for the most part, if you came out of Canada, that's where you went. But
when's the first time that you all heard of the Hart Dungeon? Was it Beyond the Mat or
when I trained in it?
Or what was the Bret Hart
training-
documentary? It wasn't Beyond the Mat. It was
No, it's way before that. Monsoon all the
documentary.
time in the 80s and late 80s. Monsoon always, even on primetime wrestling, when Bret Hart, as part of the Hart Foundation, would be wrestling, he'd be like, Stu Hart in the dungeon. I always remember Gorilla Monsoon because, again, I grew up on WWF product in late 80s, always talking about the dungeon. That's when I first heard about it.
But when did you first, what was the documentary with the audio from the dungeon of Stu stretching everybody?
It was Wrestling with Shadows. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't it Owen that recorded it from upstairs? And
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
murdered
And
downstairs?
that's when it was like, this wasn't a wrestling school.
And
it was
Owen's
a
just giggling
It was
the
a
whole time.
fucking
He thinks
basement
it's
with
funny.
wooden
It was
fucking,
a legit torture chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
was a
old
dungeon.
man Stu, miserable, just stretching people like, you
Yeah.
think you're going to die. You're going to die. You like
I
it.
think you can't
I would
breathe.
not
you can't
advise
breathe,
you
you're
to take
gonna
a
die.
big breath here. I would advise you to take a shallow breath.
Oh, you playing
You're
for the
gonna die.
Bengals? That's sad.
Yeah.
He never stretched it. He was just talking about
you
his
like to wear
Bengals
these
career.
little trunks, do you? Well, I mean,
Did this ever?
I'll show you a little
did this
trunk.
ever
Really
happen to
tired
you
of
on
all
the
you football players
field?
coming in trying to be wrestlers. I'm gonna kill.
I'm
all
not
of
going to
you.
touch you, but man, the Bengals are bad.
That's enough torture right there.
Do you want a hug because you played for the Cincinnati? Really?
Unfortunately, they still have not won a Super Bowl even this year. Oh,
You want a sody pop?
They were a lot closer this year.
this year they're gonna get there. God, and Joe's up to something. After finishing with Stampede, Pillman worked briefly in 1989 for New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he wrestled in
All the
singles
greatest
matches.
wrestlers went to New Japan.
Yeah, just saying. Masa Saito, Tatsumi Fujinami, Black Cat, Naoki Sano, as well as tag team matches with Big Van Vader. Did I say them all wrong, Craig? Or did I do okay?
I appreciate the attempt. That's what.
And he teamed,
Did I fuck him up?
Big
Did I
Van
fuck him up?
Vader.
Seriously?
But like in the middle of it, you're like Black Cat.
And Black Cat.
And at the end of that, by the way, he teamed with Vader. I did not know that either.
That's so
Brian
fun.
Pillman teamed with Vader.
that should have continued. For sure.
WWE Hall of Famer celebrate. We did a legacy on him like a year ago.
Yeah.
And we
Way
asked,
to
why
catch
is he not in the
up. Way
hall?
to catch
We're not
up,
trying to say
wrestling.
it's the reason that it happened, but it probably
It is
helped.
the reason.
In 1989, Pillman returned to the United States and began wrestling for World Championship Wrestling, where he was known as Flying Brian due to his athletic ability.
Flying Brian.
Flying Brian.
My
and the
God.
ability and a variety
Flying
of
Former
Brian.
nose
maneuvers.
tackle, Cincinnati Bengals.
Man.
Miami Hot Red Hawk.
He was one of the first American wrestlers, along with beautiful Bobby Eaton, to incorporate a variety of Mexican lucha libre moves into his arsenal. He also held a short-lived WCW Light Heavyweight Championship twice between October of 91 and February of 92, feuding with Brad Armstrong, Jushin Thunder Liger, Richard Morton, and Scotty Flamingo.
I know we
How
talked
dare
about
you
that
put
in a
those
past
names
episode or
against
whatever.
Jushin Thunder Liger, Jess, I will have to murder you.
What? Pardon me?
I don't know. I'm just saying
I
stuff.
just, when someone threatens my life with murder, I want to know why. I want to know why.
Because Jushin shouldn't even be talked about.
When Jess
amongst those
speaks, you
guys.
shut your fucking mouth, Dave.
Whoa.
Jess.
Are you a
We
Scotty
talked about,
Flamingo
we
fan,
talked about
Craig?
this in
I'm
the
a big Scotty
legacy.
Flamingo mark. I don't let anyone disparage Scotty.
How
We
dare
talked
you?
about this in the legacy of the WCW Cruiserweight division. Before the Cruiserweight division, there was the incarnation of the Light Heavyweight Championship here, and him and Jushin Liger tore the house down. Brian Pillman was a big part of it. You know, we talked about this before about how we didn't appreciate him before that. We saw him in feuds with Luger. We saw him in feuds with Flair. He tagged with Sting and El Gigante, and we knew who Brian Pillman was, but not until the creation of the Light Heavyweight Championship in 91 did we just go, oh, it fucking hit us like a ton of bricks. We're like, oh, he's fucking really talented. Before then, I always thought he was just like this high-flying guy or whatever, not really realizing what he was doing and the message he was trying to get across. Then you see this Light Heavyweight division, you see Liger come in, and we're like, oh my God, Pillman is like this gem, like this guy that
He's good.
ended up being kind of a bridge, which is why I want him to be a trendsetter here. He's the bridge between that kind of wrestling into the cruiserweight, into smaller guys getting confident to where they can be like, we want to be on the same level that the other guys are. You don't have to be heavyweights. You just have to learn how to wrestle a certain style. The American wrestling audience has to learn how to digest your style. And I think Pillman was in the beginning stages of that, of teaching American wrestling fans, it's okay. You can fly a little bit. You can do a lot of stuff.
Will not quit. Oh, Pillman moved. Liger hit his head on the canvas. Flying Brian using his legs, bridging back, and he got it.
You know,
And
Yeah,
Jess, you've
I think-
complimented Joe, telling Joe being the NWA and the guy who got
I
us
don't
into
know. I don't. I've
NWA
never
and
liked
WCW.
Joe. Go on.
But I'm not sure, and Joe, feel free to talk about Pillman. I'm not sure we appreciated Pillman in the NWA WCW days in his beginnings.
I did.
when he-
I
when
did
he
not.
first
I'll
came
be
out.
honest. I did.
I
not.
would say 100% we didn't, and I think it was just how it was marketed. So many times, both in WWF and WCW, you get a new guy, he's good looking, he's got the that look, and they always shove him down our throats as like white meat baby face. Where they're just like, "Hey guys, I'm super," like I'm super good guy, and like
High five in the
we work
crowd. What's
hard,
up,
and, like,
guys?
high five
Yeah.
to everybody, and like I'm gonna like high five the girls and kiss babies, and and it's like.
Yeah.
It was, I remember watching it. I'm like, ugh, another one of these
Yeah,
guys.
I don't
come
think we
on, like,
didn't
that,
appreciate
and
him.
then-
We
and
did
so-
appreciate him.
So
Yeah.
that image
Good example.
overshadowed his talent at the beginning. Eventually, we started to see it. Even in matches, especially with matches like Luger, we're like, oh, this is awesome. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I think when we did I think it's in the archives, maybe a Starrcade or a Clash of Champions where Luger and him have a match, and I remember it starting out. I'm like, oh, Pillman, and then I'm watching. I'm like, oh, I forgot. This is actually really good.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of good things coming too.
Because it was all new. I mean, it was new, exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So hopefully we expand on this next because it's only one sentence, and I think there's a lot more that can be said here. But in 1993, Pillman would form the Hollywood Blondes with Steve Austin and win the WCW Unified Tag Team Championship.
They were not
it's
supposed to be a thing. They were not supposed to. Dusty
yeah.
Rhodes actually promised Austin like a U.S. title run, and then came back and was like, "No, I think we were just gonna put you with Pillman. We're just gonna do that." And he was like, "But I thought you said that we were gonna do. I was gonna be the greatest ever."
I know
He's
what
like,
you
"No,
thought I
just-
said, but I said what I said. I'm going to say.
Yeah, and so they took two guys like Pillman. They didn't know what to do with Pillman, and they didn't know what to do with Austin. They put them together, and Pillman Austin even admits this, was the positive guy. Austin was like, this is bullshit. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And Pillman's like, no, man, we can do it. Let's do it. Let's wear matching tights. Let's do this. And Pillman like changed Austin's like attitude.
Worked.
Like Pillman taught Austin, like, you know what? Listen, they might give you shit, but let's just learn how to eat shit and like make it like something that we can do. And they fucking started wearing matching tights. They started doing everything. They won the title. They did the camera thing.
I
They did
swear to God,
everything. It
I've
was
said
like-
it 1,000 times on this podcast. I've said it 1,000 times that you're tired of me saying it. Like, I fucking think when you did a move and you stunned somebody and then you filmed them with that is one of the most brilliant things in wrestling.
It's amazing.
And I
Yeah.
fucking loved every second of it.
And it was all Pillman. It was him telling Austin, like, no, let's do this together. Like, this is what they're giving us. Let's do it. So they did the matching vest, like behind Craig and behind Joe, and they did the whole matching vest. And they did this thing, and they were not meant to do what they did. And they won the unified WCW Tag Team Championships. They fought like top guys. Like they were awesome together. It was awesome. Like, and
Austin Pillman become the tag team champions of the world, and the champs are here on WCW Saturday night.
Tony, what we've just witnessed is the storybook beginning of the greatest tag team the sport has ever seen. This epic battle with Steamboat and Douglas marks the genesis of the next great dynasty in professional sports, the Hollywood Blondes, the People's Champions, the last beacon of hope for the wretched refuse all across this country. And let me encourage all you pathetic souls, come on down, buy a ticket, let us enrich your lives and give you a brush with greatness.
I was telling
The
Joe
Hollywood
before
Blondes,
the,
man.
before
What a
we
big
started
part
the
of
recording.
Stone Cold's
was a
career,
great team to watch. Like,
Yeah.
And
I
to
mean,
the-
this is
and-
awesome
and-
workers.
So when they
Yeah.
when they walked out to the ring, they wore chains around their necks because Hollywood, get it? And Pillman gave Austin a gift. Here, wear this chain. And after Pillman died, Austin, even as Stone Cold, wore the chain in honor of Brian Pillman.
oh,
because he
no
was the-
shit. That thing,
Yeah,
that chain
he was the
used to
guy.
wear?
He was the guy that guided me. He was the guy that showed me, like, dude,
Wow.
take a deep breath. Take what they give you. Take the ringmaster, right? Take everything. Take it all, and then you're gonna emerge. You're gonna find your voice. And like Brian Pillman taught Austin that. Brian Pillman
I
was
never
a
knew that.
huge
That's
pillar.
incredible.
Yeah, Austin talked about that in his book and on his things that he wore the gold chain around his neck because Pillman gave it to him, and so he wore it for a long time, even as Stone Cold. You see all the shit. There's a famous poster where Austin's walking through like a warehouse in fire. He's got the
That's- I
vest
see
on
the
and the
chain.
jeans on.
Yeah,
he
he's
has
got
the
the
chain.
chain.
It's the chain that Brian Pillman gave him as Hollywood Blondes.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
In
great story.
1995, great story. In 1995, Pillman created the loose cannon persona that would cultivate a reputation for unpredictable behavior. During this period of time, Pillman changed his once Hollywood blonde and Flying Brian clean athletic look
Flying
for an
Brian.
edgy, out of control image. Pillman frequently blurred fact and fiction with his worked shoots.
I'm not Hogan. I'm not Savage. I'm not Sting. I'm Brian Pillman. And don't you ever forget it. And I have a dream. And that is to teach you and everybody else respect. And I'll do whatever it takes. Even if I gotta hack your thumbs off.
In a match with Eddie Guerrero on January 23rd of 1996, episode of Clash of Champions, oh my, 32. I had to read
32.
that real quick. 32. Pillman grabbed commentator Bobby Heenan by the collar, causing Heenan, who had a history of neck problems, to blurt out, "What the F are you doing live on air?" If you can get Bobby Heenan to break, you're doing something.
I will
right?
never forget that. If I can find that sound and put it in, Heenan legitly on the air. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because Heenan made it clear to every talent, like, my neck sucks. Don't touch
it.
Yeah, don't touch it. And so
And Pillman
went out
blurred
there,
the lines.
and Gar's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" This was legit. Like, Dave's gonna read on too.
There's some
Pillman
great stuff
convinced
in here.
Bischoff that I'm gonna be this new hybrid of wrestler where I'm gonna kind of like shoot, but you're not gonna know if I'm shooting, you're not gonna know if it's work, you're not gonna know if it's shoot. And he did it successfully. And Dave's gonna read on where he gets out of his
Pulls back
contract
the Oz curtain,
with
bro.
WCW. But really, how ahead of the game was Pillman here? He was
Yeah.
this edgy wrestler that we would end up liking in Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Hogan and then NWO.
Or CM Punk later on.
Yeah, CM Punk later on.
Yeah.
You saw here in the
Good
loose
point.
cannon. Pillman was. I didn't appreciate it here because again, it was ahead of its time. It really was. Nobody knew. Very few people, like Paul Heyman, knew it, because Paul Heyman brought him in ECW, like Dave will read on here, where he's like, dude, I got to get this guy in here. Like, this guy's amazing. Like, he's awesome. Like, so and we never appreciated this.
I find this hilarious because we all, I don't know, we don't hate Kevin Sullivan as a person.
I do.
No, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we do.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself, Dave.
Outed Kevin Sullivan as a booker during the February 1996 Super Bowl VI pay-per-view in an I Respect You strap match, where the loser announced that they respect the other wrestler, much like an I Quit match. Pillman lost to Sullivan after Pillman grabbed the microphone and said to Sullivan, I respect you, Booker Man.
Jet has a wireless microphone.
Yeah, I don't think this is what Aretha Franklin meant.
You, Booker Man.
Oh, he said, I respect you.
Respect you. And he walked.
And he walked out.
And he walked.
He said, I respect you, and he walked out.
Wow.
So Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, will win it.
This was
huge.
huge.
The match was only like a minute going. Like, it was a minute long, and he started no-selling the straps. Like, Sullivan was strapping him, and he just stood up and he looked at Sullivan. He's like, I respect you, Booker Man, and he laughed and rolls outside the ring.
And in the
and
world
like,
dirt sheets, and when you used to get it emailed to you, like, it was real shit. Like, we were fully invested. This was on the level of the pipe bomb of
Yeah, definitely. It broke
kind of.
kayfabe,
yeah,
for sure.
broke that fourth wall for us.
Yeah,
whether it was a work shoot or not, like, we were fully invested at this point in Pillman.
Yeah. The next day after Super Bowl VI, Pillman was fired by WCW WCW
Bye-bye.
Eric Bischoff.
Would have had you, Jess.
In Bischoff's autobiography, he said that Pillman was fired so that he can go and develop the loose cannon gimmick in ECW and then return to WCW with more legitimate heat. Bischoff claims it was a plan he and Pillman came up with together. It would later backfire on Bischoff as Pillman did not return.
So Pillman outsmarted Bischoff and said, don't worry, it's all planned. Really release me from my contract and I'll come back because people are going to be... And he just left. He left. Like, he wanted out of WCW contract. He tricked Bischoff. And to this day, Bischoff's like, no, we were totally cool. We were on the level. It's like, no, he fucked you. No. He tricked you.
He left. If you were on the level, he would have came back.
So basically, Pillman came to Bischoff and said, I want to do a character that's like, I'm kind of leaving the company and you should fire me for real. As a matter of fact, even to fool the dirt sheet guys, you should really fire me in real life. Sever my contract. And Bischoff's like, you're a genius. And he severed his contract.
Let's do that.
Pillman's like, yeah, I'm totally gone. Bye. And just left. Like, yeah. Totally
I think he said like that to his bye.
Bye. And he went to ECW and then signed, as Dave said.
Actually, it was more like, bye.
It's like, bye. Bye. More like a whisper. Immediately following his departure from WCW, he, being Brian Pillman, returned to ECW and appeared at the promotion's annual internet convention, ECW Cyber Slam. That's
what? That sounds so horrible.
It sounds amazing.
Everything's fine.
Do you guys remember ECW Cyber Slam?
That was on February 17th.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
it's a Matt classic.
He said, I don't like you, Booker Man.
Booker Man. During an interview conducted in the ring by Joey Styles, Pillman insulted Bischoff.
Calling,
my God.
What?
Calling
Calling him a commentator, a gopher, and a piece of shite.
Haven't you heard? I like you as an announcer. You know why? Because I just had an announcer in Atlanta, Georgia, take away my constitutional rights. I have been fired by Eric Bischoff.
That's not nice.
Why do you edit yourself, you bitch? Sorry.
I don't know. He turned his attention to the ECW audience.
You want to know why? Because you're the voice of reason and keep doing it. Go on.
Yeah, okay. I love you too. They're actually calling him Smart Marks. Oh, Smart Marks. There's a good one. I think that's probably everybody in this room. Bunch of smart marks. On April 15th of 1996, Pillman was badly injured after falling asleep while driving his Hummer H1 in Kentucky and driving into a tree trunk.
Sometimes you work yourself into a shoot.
There it is, and he flipped the vehicle.
And you fall asleep.
He was in a
at
coma
the
for a week and suffered a shattered ankle, forcing doctors to fuse it together in a fixed walking position, thus forcing Pillman to abandon his previous high-flying wrestling style for a more grounded style.
Everything's fine.
No, it's good. It's fine.
It'll be fine.
He has tons of leverage when he jumps to.
It's all a shoot. Eric Bischoff was tricked.
It's just
Pillman then signed a contract with the WWF.
You were in the Hummer. I was in the Hummer. I'm Brian Pillman.
June 10th of 1996 is when Pillman signed with WWF, with the signing announced in a press conference.
Shut the hell up! Hendricks, give me that mic. Yeah, I'm talking to you, bozo.
Look, I'll be glad to go around.
Just get over here. You'll do what I say. You're the prop here. I'm the star. I want you to sit down. I think this press conference is now Brian Pillman's press conference, and we're really going to find out what all you yes men, what all you obsequious lapdogs that are telling Monsoon and Dylan what they want to hear when they want to hear it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the loose cannon is here.
He was the second wrestler to sign a guaranteed contract with the WWF after Mark Merrow indicated with the period in which Vince McMahon began to protect the company from abruptly losing talent to WCW, with Luger, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall all previously doing so. Pillman acted as a commentator while recovering from his broken ankle, transitioning to a wrestling role after attacking an unruly fan during an episode of WWF Superstars on June 29th, 1996 in Detroit. What's Detroit? So that's bound to happen.
Was that like a real fan or a plant, or what was that?
Yeah, it was a plant.
Okay.
It's all shoot, people. It's all work, shoot.
See? I'm such a smart.
Oh, such a smart. After WrestleMania 13, Pillman returned and aligned himself with his real-life close friends, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, and Jim Neidhart as
part of the Hart Foundation, man.
Hart
the Hart Foundation.
Yep. Turning Pillman heel, all of whom he was familiar with from his Stampede wrestling stretching roots. He began feuding with his former partner, Steve Austin. This is highly underrated, the feud that goes on here. But after
the famous gun angle,
my God,
where he had the gun,
yeah, oh yeah, and then you cut the static. It's incredible. Yep. After his feud with Austin, he feuded with Goldust over Marlena until his death. Pillman lost to Goldust at SummerSlam, in which Pillman was forced to wear a dress during his matches for a month. Pillman then challenged Goldust again to a match with two stipulations. If Pillman had won, he would take Marlena away from Goldust to be his personal assistant for 30 days. But if Goldust won, Pillman would leave the WWF for the rest of his life. Pillman defeated Goldust at In Your House 17 Ground Zero. It turned out to be his final WWF pay-per-view appearance.
Pillman just nailed Goldust! Goldust is out! Goldust is out! No!
Here's the winner, the Boots Time, Brian Pillman!
Goldust is knocked unconscious. Marlena tried to hit Brian Pillman with the purse, and whatever was in that purse, it was loaded.
On October 5th, 1997, Pillman was scheduled to wrestle Dude Love at the WWF pay-per-view In Your House 18, Bad Blood. Steve Austin relayed that Jim Cornette was instructed to find the whereabouts of Pillman. Jim contacted the budgeted motel in Bloomington, Minnesota, where Pillman had stayed the previous night, and was told by the receptionist that Pillman was found dead in his hotel room by the maids earlier that day at 1:09 p.m. Central Time. He was only 35 years old.
35.
His autopsy attributed Pillman's death to a heart attack.
God damn it. And they found out by the maids. He was late, and Austin was like, "Hey, Jim, get the fuck over here, you idiot." And he's like, "I'm sorry, fucking." Go find Pillman. Pillman's missing. And he goes and finds him, and the maid fucking tells him, "Oh, yeah, fuck, we were cleaning his room today." Yeah. And like, he's
we
dead.
found that guy.
Like, fuck, like, one of the
blonde guy
most,
with the Bengal tights. Yeah, he's fucking dead.
God,
You
Brian
guys.
Pillman, he's dead. I think. I'm not sure.
Still feels too
Like,
soon. But
I know. I'm not making fun of Pillman. I was making fun of like the way they found him. Like they found out that Pillman was dead after the fact. Like afterwards, like, oh, that guy? Oh yeah, he's dead. You didn't know? Like, yeah, no, we didn't know. That's why we're fucking calling you. Like the guy's late to his fucking job, and we're calling you to ask you where he is.
It's just so sad. It was
long time ago.
a budget motel. Like, there's nothing more low rent than.
Yeah.
It's all about saving money, and they all did back then. But like, it's such a different world. Like, you think it's glamorous, you think they're millionaires. It's fucking $40 a night budget motels. The night before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it's rough, man. I mean, it's.
I hate it. I really hate it. I hate that we're talking about this. I hate that they found out that way. I hate that people like him and Eddie Guerrero are found dead in their room. And we have to say goodbye that way. And we have to look back and say goodbye like this. And it sucks. Like, because these guys were like literally like visionaries. Like they were guys that saw beyond. I mean, trying to convince Bischoff to fire him from his contract is really funny. But at the same time, it's like that's so innovative. Like that's so like he was always thinking. And Jim Ross to this day on his podcast will talk about how Pillman was impatient. Like, because he was always like cranking his brain. He was always like, "Why don't I do this? I want to do that. Calm down. Let's do this. Let's let you, let's do this character. Let's let you season like this. Let's let the audience get over." And Pillman's like, "No." And he's just, same thing with Austin. Austin's like, "Oh, it's bullshit. I can't believe we're fucking the Hollywood Blonde." And he's like, "No, let's fucking calm down. Let's match. Let's make a tag team name. What do you think? Hollywood Blondes? We're both blonde hair. Like,
they were just going to be Austin and Pillman. That's going to be their name.
And Pillman had the foresight to calm everybody down and be like, let's just fucking do it, man.
Let's think of a good name. Let's try something.
Let's think of a good name. And and then we're talking about him. They died in a budget motel. Fuck. Why? Like, Eddie Guerrero, why? Why are you saying goodbye to you in that fashion? Why is your genius not carrying on? Can you imagine if Pillman and Eddie Guerrero were alive today, teaching the younger guys? Like, fucking ridiculous. You don't think those guys would be in NXT right now, or AEW for that matter? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, come on. Brian Pillman's son, his son. Like, it's crazy. It sucks. It's sad. It sucks a lot.
Just looking at some influence on the industry. Pillman found success early with the WCW light.
No, he didn't. Oh, he did. Yeah, you're right.
When it was there. You wrote this, mother.
You're fair enough.
His style of wrestling had a great impact on American wrestling, especially in the WCW Cruiserweight division in the mid-1990s.
Yes.
No, that's not true, you piece of shit.
Yeah, dumb fuck. Oh, you're right.
The loose cannon gimmick was literally where the business was headed and enjoyed its largest boom period. Again, Trendsetter is probably the most.
What did Austin's character become? Tell me that Austin wasn't influenced by Brian Pillman tricking Eric Bischoff into getting him out of his contract, and that those promos
where everybody wanted to
where he
punch their
cussed
boss
like
back in the day,
where
right?
he was cussing, and Joey Styles was like, "What are you guys? Oh, you piece of shit, you stupid fuck!" And Joey Styles was like, "Oh my god!" Like in ECW, they made Pillman's character even offensive for ECW. If you could even imagine that. Tell me how he didn't influence Stone Cold, who eventually became like, don't trust anybody, fuck you, fuck authority, fuck all this stuff. Like, that was Brian Pillman. He just couldn't. He got into the Humvee accident. He shattered his ankle. Like, it was just, there was a lot of bad things that happened or whatever. He got hooked on pills, unfortunately, and probably before that he did a lot of steroids that it enabled his heart to get too enlarged, and he had a heart attack. And that sucked. It fucking sucks, man. Like,
well, but those two big. I mean, talking about him as a trendsetter, I think is 100% like appropriate and accurate. I think that I think that I mean, he has two major influences. He has he was definitely ahead of his time in terms of like the cruiserweight style, in the land, even being outside of the WWF, even being in WCW, which wasn't necessarily the land of the giants, you still, that was still the focus. It was Luger, it was Hawk and Animal, it was the Steiners, it was all these big, huge guys. And here comes Pillman wrestling a new style, wrestling a different style, and being kind of a smaller guy that, he was essentially 5 years too early. And then you fast forward that 5 years, and he's 5 years early again because he essentially creates.
He has to abandon the
creates-
cruiserweight division because he shattered his ankle, so he can't wrestle that style anymore.
Right.
So now I'm going to make a character that I'm going to loose cannon, and he's early again. Joe. That is that's
You're right on it,
so
man.
fantastic.
You know?
Yeah, that's right.
He
on.
essentially creates. He's like a precursor to Stone Cold. He's 100% a precursor to CM Punk for sure.
Yeah.
And a variety of others along the way. That
Check out the Nature Boy with his finger on the pulse.
Style.
Mine.
Boop.
Finger on the pulse, Joe. You got it. Nailed it. Craig, close us out, man.
What? Yeah, dude, ahead of his time. Burned out. It's all just cliches, but burned out too soon.
Yeah.
And he
better to burn out or to fade.
Pushed Stone Cold to be the guy he could be. He was just always a step behind, just always just a couple months or years behind what could have been.
Or a step ahead, Craig.
Yeah. He was great. There's a couple of Vice documentaries about him, which paints him in a bad light. Which, I mean, let's be frank. A lot of wrestlers aren't great dudes. And Pillman had his demons, and everything you do from gym to traveling for the sport you love and for your job and career, like he was no exception. But like, he's so funny, and he was so good at what he did. Looking at Dave's picture on, and Jess's picture behind him, his crazy eyes, and from the very beginning, you saw him with the Bengals tights, where he was just a traditional kind of high flyer, and you loved it. And post accident, reinvented himself with the loose cannon and how he kept us all guessing. Like, he was always ahead of the curve. Like, he really, truly was a trendsetter. And I truly wish he was here. And I see him in his son's eyes. And I want to see him succeed. And I want to see the Pillman Jr. name, like, keep going and succeed. I really, really do. Your dad would be very proud. And he was a great dude and a fantastic fucking worker. That's my thoughts on Pillman.
So, and I didn't include this too, and usually in Trendsetters, I put the matches. Like, there's so many good matches for Pillman against Lex Luger at Halloween Havoc 1989.
Brian trying to wrest one of the most coveted championships in the land away from the man, as he says. He is the man. Smash of the head there, of Luger's head by Pillman. Pillman now crawls right back into the ring. Oh, Luger just can't even get up. Devastated by those chops and blows from Brian. Pillman now on the second rope. Luger wide open. Ooh. I think Pillman's making a mistake here. I know he's irate, and I know he wants to kill Luger, but he's got to wrestle this big guy.
Was a very good one against Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, the Hollywood Blondes. At Clash of the Champions.
Oh, shit, that's
16th.
a great match.
Yeah, June 16th. 2 out of 3 falls. Hollywood Blondes against Anderson and Flair. June 16th, 1993, Norfolk, Virginia. Against Steve Austin when they split up. August 18th, Clash of the Champions, 1993. Another great match. Even though it's silly, his feud with Goldust where he had to wear the dress after or whatever, only Brian Pillman can wear that dress and pull it off and then finally win the match and get Marlena like in his on his side or whatever. And he did some bedroom vignettes where he was like, you know, it doesn't age well now, but he's making Marlena, you know, be romantic with him and stuff like that. Like, again, I'm not, you know, that doesn't age well now. However, it was very ahead of its time. It was part of his WWF because he couldn't do a lot in the WWF after the Humvee accident. So he had to really rely on this character. There's so many things that Brian Pillman did great. So much stuff in WCW. His tag teaming with Tom Zink. They were the U.S. Tag Team Champions. Like, they just a lot of really cool stuff that Pillman did before and after wrestling realized that, oh my God, cruiserweights are valuable. They are valuable, or light heavyweights, whatever you want to talk to him. His matches against Jushin Liger, come on, you know, like that was awesome. Brian Pillman, I did not appreciate him at the time. I really appreciate him now. So yeah, that's my feeling.
There you go. We'll just have to leave it there. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. Or watch our videos on YouTube at our wrestling channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019? or on Facebook Meta at Our Wrestling Podcast. For Craig, Jess, Joe, this is Dave with the O.W.P. signing off. Have a good one.